Hello and thank you for watching. I'm Jennifer with Olympia Piano. In today's short video, we're going to take a look at J.S. Bach's Well-Tempered Clavier. We're looking at Prelude number 2, which is in C minor. There's a section near the end that's marked adagio, and I'm going to go over how to interpret the rhythm in that section. And then I'll do a little bonus section on the fingering that I use for that particular section at the very end. So if you have your own music, go ahead and look at measure 34. I'm going to post it up above. Here's measure 34 down here at the bottom, and then up above you see 4 groups of 4 16th notes. I have 4 groups because in this piece at the beginning you're either going to have a C or 4/4. This means the same thing. So that means there's 4 beats, and I've subdivided the beats into 4 16th notes because that's how it's been the whole time. The most essential thing to understanding this measure is understanding how the beams work. And beams are these lines at the top of the notes. These notes up here have 2 beams because those are 16th notes, but I'm going to explain the beams down here with kind of a note family tree, okay? If we have an 8th note, single 8th note, it's called a flag, by the way, and more than one, it's called a beam. So whenever we split the duration of a note into 2, make 2 faster notes, we're going to add another one. So because this splits into 2, we're going to have beams now. But just so you know, single one, we'd add another flag like that. Okay? And then these are 16th notes. So if we split these 8th notes into 2, then we're going to get 2 groups of 2 16th notes, 2 beams on the top. You can also group those together like this, which is how you see them in this piece. And then if we split these in half and get even faster notes, those are going to have 3 beams twice as fast. Those are called 32nd notes. Finally, if we split those in half, really fast notes, those are going to have 4 beams. And by the way, generally, you're going to see these really fast notes, 64th notes, they're going to be grouped together in at least groups of 4, and here even in groups of 8. So the slowest note in this section is going to be an 8th note, and the fastest is going to be a 64th. So now we're going to subdivide these 16th notes, and then we're going to write the subdivisions in this adagio measure. And by the way, adagio is an Italian term that has to do with the speed. The literal definition is slowly or at ease. And we're coming out of a section that's been presto, which is very fast. So at this moment, you really put the brakes on, and I'll demonstrate at the end. But anyway, so we've gotten to this adagio from a group of 16th notes. Here's the subdivisions. So now we'll take the subdivisions here in purple, and we're going to apply them to this measure. So I'll just go section by section. So our first beam is a single 8th note. So if we look down here, we see that 1 8th note is equal to 2 16th notes. So under this rolled chord here, I'm going to write 1 E, okay? Now, the next thing we have is 3 beams. So if we look down here, we see that 2 32nd notes are in each 16th note. So our next 16th note is the and, so I'm going to put that on the first group of 2. So these 2 are going to go with the and then our next subdivision is and that's going to go on the first of the next group. So I'll just play that for you real quick, counting it aloud. 1 E, and then this is a tie, by the way. This little teeny line here means you're not going to play that E again, but you're going to count for it. 1 E and okay, now here's the fun part. We've got 4 beams for the next 8 notes. So if we work backwards here on our note family tree thing, here's a group of 4. We see that a group of 4 64th notes is equal to 1 16th note. That one split into 2 32nds into 4 64ths. Our next subdivision number is 2. So I'm going to put that on the first group of 4. Then I'm going to count 1, 2, 3, 4. Those are going to go with the 2. Then our next subdivision is E. That's going to go on the next 4 super fast notes here. And then here, this can look kind of confusing. This is a lonely 16th note there all by itself. You see right there, there's just 2 beams on that. And that will get the and. And the final notes in this group have 3 beams. We look over here in purple, we see 2 notes that have 3 beams working backwards equal 1/16. So these are going to go with the Well, that sounds like this. 2, E, and 2, E, and Okay, next beat. Then we have the single beam. So again, single beam is here. 1/8 equals 2/16, working backwards here. So that's going to get the 3E. Actually, this is the exact same rhythm as the first beat in this measure. We've got 4 notes with 3 beams equal 2/16 notes. So that's going to get 2 notes for the first one and 2 notes for the second subdivision. That's going to sound like this. 3, E, and again, there's a tie right here in the middle. And there's also this thing called a mordent, which I'll go over at the very end when I give you the fingering. Now we're going to do the last beat, beat 4. See at the beginning here, we've got 4 notes with 3 beams. So looking over here on our purple notes, 4 notes with 3 beams. That is going to correspond with 2/16 notes. So the first 2 in this group. So I'll take 2 notes, I'll put the 4 right there. I'll take the next 2 notes with 3 beams, put the E right there, check that off. At the end of the group, we see 8 64th notes, 4 beams on those notes, so here they are down here. Moving up to 16th notes, we can see that those correspond to the same amount of time as 2/16 notes. So we'll take the first group of 4 here, and we'll put the and on that. And then we'll take the second group of 4 64th notes, and we'll put the on that. Notice I'm putting the subdivision on the first of the group. So if it's a group of 2, it goes on the first note of the group of 2. If it's a group of 4, it goes on the first note of the group of 4. So that last group sounds like this. 4, E, and 1. I'm going to now play this 2 times. The first time is going to be with the metronome. The metronome is going to be at 80. Sounds like this. 4, E, and 1, E, and 2, E, and 3, E, and 4, E, and 1. Without the metronome, 1, E, and 2, E, and 3, E, and 4, E, and 2 more parts to this video. Next, I'm going to share the fingering I use for this particular section. This is not the only fingering, so if you have something that works for you, please leave it in the comments so others can try it. There's also this thing here, squiggly line, that's called a roll. And with the roll, start from the bottom and play them one at a time. So the fingering here is going to be 1, 2, 5, and 1, 3. 5, 2, 1, 1, 3. And the nice thing about this is the roll can be an artistic decision, so you can do it quickly, or you can do it very slowly, or somewhere in between. I want this note to come out because this is a special harmony. I'll just throw this in there. This is called a C7 chord. The C7 chord, the definition is C, E, G, B flat. Next thing to pay attention to is that all of these notes are quarter notes. So those are going to last all the way to this quarter rest here, except this C, you're going to play it again here. So it's kind of lasting through that much. There is a tie right here. So I'm going to put this finger 3 in parentheses because you're actually holding it. We go down to C, 1, 2, 3. This E is still natural because this natural symbol is going to last either till the end of the measure or until there's a flat symbol, which occurs right here. Okay. Fingering I like to use here is crossing under with 1. I'm circling that because you're going to play E natural and then you're going to cross your thumb underneath. Okay. This harmony here is F minor. This happens to be what we call a pentascale, 5-note scale. 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay. Then I like to squish my 4th finger next to that F. So I play 4, 2. Remember, this is a natural. We haven't had that flat come back yet. Then we've got another roll, same fingering. This one has another thing to add to it, and that's this symbol right here. This is called a mordent, and a mordent is an ornament. So what that means is you're going to play notes that aren't actually written in the music. The way the mordent works is we play the main note. It's 3 notes, by the way. Main note, in this case, is F. Then this little line here means play the note underneath that, which is E right now because of that natural. Note directly underneath, I will say. And then you go back up to main note. So if it's handy for you at this stage in your musical journey, go ahead and write those notes in, F, E, F. With regards to fingering, you're going to be holding your thumb all the way to here. So you got to put the 1 on the thumb. And then I like to use 3, 2, 3, writing it kind of small so you realize those 3, 2, 3 goes like this. We're going to roll it and then do the mordent. So I'll do it in slow motion, quickly, super quick. All of these are holding. So I'm going to play the next 3 notes. Remember, there's another tie with 4, 3, 2. Again, there's many ways you can finger this. I like to cross back to the F, get back in that F minor position. This time we're only going to play 3/5 of it. We're not going to go all the way to C. We're just going to go up to A flat. So 1, 2, 3, 2, 1. By the way, this harmony here is still F minor. And then I like to cross with 3, 3, 2, 3, 4, 2, 3, 4. Right here, make sure that you don't play a 3 there, that you jump back down to 2. Sometimes people want to go, but it's just 2, 3, 4, 2, 3, 4. Okay? All right, that's fingering I like to use. 5, 2, 1, 1, 3, holding the bottom notes, tie with 3, 1, 2, 3. The left hand's going to lift. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, 4, 2. Now at this moment, you're going to start playing the roll as soon as you played this E. So 5, 2, 1, 1, 3, 2, 3. Holding the bottom 4 notes, tie on 3, 4, 3, 2, lifting everything up at this moment when you reach under for that F. 1, 2, 3, 2, 1, 3, 2, 3, 4, 2, 3, 4, 1. Now I'll do that without talking. All right, just one more thing, I promise. This is not a long thing. I just want to show you the differences in the speeds between the presto, which happens right before the adagio, and then the allegro. So let's take a quick look at that. So now what you see above is a little bit different music. This is my personal music here. This section on the top line is the presto section. Presto, again, means very fast. And I will just say that this is very difficult. You've got to find the fingering that works for you in order to play this section. And maybe I'll do another video on that. Please let me know in the comments if that is something that would be useful to you. A couple different options for fingering in this section. So I'm going to start playing from right here. So very fast. Then we go to adagio, which is quite slow, slowly. When I play this piece, I like to consider this adagio section a cadenza, which is a section of the music where you really show your artistic statement. So that's what I like to do here in this adagio. And then we go back to allegro, which simply means fast. So we're going from very fast to slowly to fast. So it's important to keep those relationships in mind as you play this. I will just start right here at the X and I will play just to here. By the way, when I play this, I don't just slam on the brakes and get to the adagio. I like to slow down a little bit on beat 4. So I start at the presto and then I like to slow down there. Not everyone does. Like I said, Bach is very highly personal. So you consider what works for you. So hopefully you noticed the presto was quite fast, adagio was slow, and then the allegro was not as fast as the presto. I'll do it one more time. Very fast. All right, that is the end of this video. I hope you found it helpful. Lots of info packed into measure 34 of this beautiful prelude. If you would like more instruction on this piece, please leave me some information in the comments as to what would be useful, fingering, dynamics, that sort of thing. If you are new to my channel, please make sure to subscribe. I literally have hundreds of piano education videos. Some are techniques, some are tutorials, some are courses. So look around. If you have found this particular video extremely helpful, you can send a donation to the channel. You can do that either through PayPal or through YouTube Super Thanks. Just click on the button that says thanks. And that just indicates to me I'm creating content that is useful to you. So any questions, leave them in the comments. And the other thing is, if you're new to my channel, I love to know where you're from. Please also leave that for me in the comments. And I will look forward to seeing you in the next video. Have fun with this piece. And as always, thank you for watching.